storytelling. I have to wait for the logo. Hello, everyone. I'm Bertie from Eurogamer, and this is a storytelling panel as introed by Carmageddon there. So we all love stories. Papa Smurf reading there. True stories. Fiction. Notice the American there. And for long as games could tell stories, they have, of course. Leisure Suit Larry there. Oh, I've skipped ahead. Hold on a second, I'm sorry, I've messed it up. Here we go. So when the internet came along, internet serious business, everything changed. People started sharing their stories in MUDs. So... and then the floodgates opened. So we still get stories told to us in a more classical sense, people as in, you know, telling us their story. But more and more, the stories being told are ours. Stories, emergent stories, such as Minecraft and this other game, DayZ. So here to talk about that and talk about kind of the evolution of storytelling in games are my panelists, and I'm going to introduce you to them now. So I'll start right here with Mike Bithell, the creator of Thomas Was Alone and Volume.
Hello.
Hello, Mike. Which gaming story sticks out for you in your life?
Wow, that's a good question that you fortunately gave us about 10 minutes ago. So I had time to think of an answer. But annoyingly, the answer I came up with was the incredibly obvious one, which is Half-Life. Which is a game that I played. I know I was definitely 16 because I was late to my prom.
What, were you near the end or something? How?
I was at the bit. It was the yeah, so it was close to the end. It was the bit with the assassins kind of show up, and I was just really in the zone. And my mum ended up driving me to my my end of secondary school prom.
So did you get time to finish the game? Was that?
No, but I got to, you know, go to a party I wasn't allowed to drink at, so...
Rubbish.
It was, well, even... Anyway, this is... I feel we've gone off. Yeah, no, Half-Life's brilliant. No, I think for me, I remember playing Half-Life, it was that kind of... I just played Deus Ex and Metal Gear Solid, and then Half-Life. It feels like I was just the right age at the right time for when games started telling stories in ways that were unique to games, environmental storytelling, these kind of interactions that tell a story rather than just a series of cutscenes. And yeah, it was a great time, and you know, we're all now ripping them off on a daily basis, which is great.
Creating new things. Thank you. Our next guest is Holly Gramazio, I think I'm pronouncing it right, a freelance game designer and used to work for Hide and Seek. Holly, what gaming memory sticks out for you, or what story sticks out for you?
Probably. I mostly work in games with a real-world element, so things where there are performers or things that happen in museums or public space or that kind of thing. So the gaming story that sticks out for me, and the game that made me get into all of that stuff, is a game called Journey to the End of the Night, which was designed by a group called SF0, but it's been run all over the world. And it doesn't have a plot, really, or at least if it does have a plot, it's usually less good than the runs without a plot. But what it does really, really cleverly is set things up so people have their own peculiar experiences and make their own stories within it, which they then share. So I turned up with 3 friends. I'd moved to London 5 months previously from Australia, didn't really know my way around it at all. Turned up with 3 friends outside this massive abandoned warehouse in East London, and we were given a map with 5 checkpoints on it and told we had to get to those 5 checkpoints in order, and we had 3 hours because the last checkpoint was on the banks of the Thames at low tide, and if we didn't get there in 3 hours, then it would no longer be there. And that was all fair enough, and we started planning our routes, and then some gates opened way up on the abandoned warehouse, and some performers stepped out wearing red ribbons. We all had white ribbons so we could recognise each other. They had red ribbons, and they all looked quite fit and energetic, and also one of them was in those big springy things that make you run really fast. And we were told that we had 2 minutes and then they'd be chasing us. And if they caught us, they'd take our white ribbon and give us a red ribbon. And we'd become one of them. And it was just the most extraordinary evening. It was hours and hours of running around frantically. My legs ached for days afterwards. For a couple of weeks, whenever I saw someone wearing red out of the corner of my eye on the tube or something, I would jump. But the tiny little bits of story that we as players developed from that, the things about like the time my friend Josh ran across the road, literally risking his life in order to draw some chasers away from us so we could get down one alleyway. The time Josh inevitably got caught and betrayed us and chased us down and eventually ended up isolating one of us in a park and chasing him for 10 minutes frantically. All of these tiny moments of bravery or betrayal were kind of the thing that made me decide I wanted to do game design.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a very powerful experience, and the sort of experience that we're seeing more and more with people. I don't want to say water cooler moments, but you know that point where people come into work or whatever and say, "Look, well, I did this." Thank you. Moving on to my next guest, Ed Stern, writer for Splash Damage. You may have seen him on not this stage, but a Rezzed stage before last year. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Which story in gaming sticks out for you?
I fear this is going to be quite a generational thing, but Deus Ex, the first Deus Ex game. It was the first game that I didn't know what the right answer was. And every game up to that point had been clear, oh, okay, this is a puzzle made by the designer and there is an optimal outcome and you're trying to intuit or guess or brute force the best way. And you get to the end of it and it says, no, what are your values? What do you believe? I think that was the first, and also it was just really interestingly written. And it was full of stuff like, oh, the Illuminati, I've heard of them. Oh, I didn't know that about them. It was smarter than I was. It was better written than anything I'd done. And it was just, it really, obviously Half-Life as well. Just like, oh, look, grown-ups made this. This is worthy of time and attention. And I think prior to that point, it was like, people make these? Really? That was the first thing I got a sense of real authorship and kind of expertise in that way. And I've ripped that off every day since, as well as Half-Life, yes.
Well, yeah, copying is the highest form, imitating the highest form of flattery. So our final guest, you might recognise him. He's been in a couple of sessions so far. It's Dean Hall, the creator of DayZ, and one of the games that is making people talk about stories in a different way, lots of different stories that are popping up out of the game. Dean, what story or moment of story in games sticks out to you?
I have a disappointing thing for you, actually, Bertie. Dean Hall is currently not here. Dean Hall is currently under a table being chased by an alien because someone suggested that I play Alien Isolation just before this panel. So all I can really think is, help me, I'm stuck under a table and an alien's chasing me.
But you're army trained, you can deal with this.
Yes, I did. I dealt with it perfectly fine up until the point I panicked. And then they showed me that you can hide under the table. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. This is where I'm staying. And thanks. This is my safe place.
It is comfortable under there, isn't it?
It's very comfortable. Anyway, I did, in my delirium and panic, I have managed to think of one game. And for me, it was actually Police Quest. So the Sierra game, you had Leisure Suit Larry up there. Because I was really young and it made me feel like I was a police officer and I was in this little like town and I don't know, maybe I was just at the right age to sort of understand some of that stuff, and so it actually let me do it. And I'd never really played a lot on the Amiga. I never really played a lot of games that made me really feel like I was doing it. Like it had this adult storyline and I was this teenager and it was kind of like you said, it was like adults made this and I was kind of coming to the club, and it's not, I guess, the most open world type game, but it really did like put me in, and I think I was really hooked at that point.
Fantastic. So you all make games, which is why you're here. Ed, I might jump to you for this one. What are the golden rules for telling a story in games?
Well, let me tell you. For what?
For telling a story, for storytelling in games.
Turn up for work dressed and sober.
I'm ruined. I'll never be able to do it.
Out loud. Depends on the game. I think one of the things that's very obvious, this can become clear through this session, and it's increasingly obvious looking at the industry, is that the term video game or games is just ludicrously broad. And I think within 10 years it's going to seem impossible that we ever used this one term to cover everything from physical games to board games to card games to platform-specific games to, you know, whatever gamer culture is. I mean, at what point do we just say, people play games? This is no longer... It's like, well, what about bipedal games? You know, what about games for people who breathe? Yeah, I breathe. That definitely counts for me. I work in predominantly kind of genre multiplayer PC stuff. I've done some console stuff as well, but it's very much kind of cosplay paintball. Is that an unkind way of putting it?
That's a new genre, yeah.
But you know, the story of a multiplayer game is that you go online and play a game with your friends. There's not so much in terms of authored narrative, in terms of a linear thing where you play through a level and you uncover stuff and you get stuff at the end. It's, when done right, it's infinitely replayable. I mean, BioShock, a wonderfully authored game, but we all brought something unique to it, but we all played the same game. Maybe at different difficulty settings, but in terms of the narrative, it was laid out for us. Maybe we missed some stuff, but it was the same beautifully authored narrative. For multiplayer stuff, it's a sandbox, a rule set, and a toolkit to forge your own experiences. And I think that's true, increasingly true of, well, it's always been true of physical games. It's getting more true of open... I mean, DayZ is a perfect example. I never would have thought... I find it really positive, the thought that people are embracing such a hard, unforgiving... You know, there's no breadcrumbing, there's no easy way in. You die all the time in a variety of incredibly paranoia-inducing ways. For us, or for, you know, conventional multiplayer games, there's a certain genre expectation. It helps if you played a game like that before. And then it's kind of variations on a theme. So you can have too much narrative. You can certainly have too little. And it's like, well, hang on, this might as well just be paintball. And other times it's, no, wait, I must tell you everything that's happened here for the last 50 years. It's like, I'm playing a game here. Stop. So it depends on the project, but you can certainly have too rich a narrative environment, and you can certainly have too bland a narrative environment. And I have made both of those mistakes.
Right, and thank you to my guests, Mike, Holly, Ed, and Dean. Thank you to you guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. And come back here to see all the other panels. We've got Zombies. We've got Dean Hall again with Project Zomboid guys. We've got a Eurogamer podcast later. We've got the Creative Assembly Game Jam. And there is Frozen End Zone on later as well. So a packed schedule, packed day. Enjoy it. Thank you very much.